Welcome everyone to Support Saturday Masterclass edition. Today I have Paula Farris, one of our sisters, joining us, and she is presenting on how to plan events without stressing, forgetting anything, or just giving up. So, all right, Paula, take it over.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Box. There we go. Yes, how to plan events without stressing, forgetting something, or just giving up. And who am I to talk about such a subject? I've been a preschool all-star since 2020. I'm the mom of 4 adult children and 4 grandchildren. I missed the word grandchildren on my slide, but there they are down in my, this is my daughter's wedding. I am a recently retired homeschool mom. My youngest just turned 18 and I homeschooled for about 30 years. And I'm an event planner extraordinaire. I'm not a professional event planner, but I have planned vacation Bible schools, mom's night outs for the homeschool group I used to belong to. I even did a couple of moms all night outs where we had a slumber party. I do birthday parties upon birthday parties upon birthday parties. I'm actually planning my this little guy's 10th, or it's 11th birthday party right now. We're going to have a spy birthday party complete with an exploding cake. And some of the vacation Bible schools that I planned back in the day, let's see, my oldest was about 10 and he's 37. They still talk about the vacation Bible schools that I did because they were just so awesome. So I know a few things about event planning. When I start to plan an event, I make lists. I actually think in lists. If you give me a project, my mind will automatically start, okay, here's the categories and this and that and this. So lists are your friends. This is a formula that I learned back when I was studying journalism. The 5 W's and an H. You may have heard these before. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. If you apply this, and you can actually apply it to any project, event, party, whatever you are planning. Answer these 6 questions and you are less likely to stress, forget things, or just give up. Now, I know that this is out of order of how they go, who, what, where, why, when, and how. But we're going to start with why. I heard this quote years ago, and I wish I knew who said it. I think I'm just going to attribute it to myself at some point because I've searched to find out who said it and I can't find it. But he who knows why has the advantage over he who knows how. Now, what does that mean? If you know why you are doing something, you can learn the how. You can figure out what you want to do, what you want it to look like, sound like. But you have to know why you are doing something. So before you start any kind of planning, ask yourself, what is the purpose for this event? Why are you doing this? Now, it may be something as simple as, well, it's Christmas time, we're having a Christmas party, or it's graduation time, we're having a graduation ceremony. And, some of them are easy to answer like that, but it may not be quite as simple. Maybe you are doing a fall festival for your community. Maybe you are planning a employee retreat for your team members. Ask yourself why you are planning the event. And once you have answered that, the rest is pretty easy. What and who are, okay, what kind of event? Well, if it's graduation, you're going to have a graduation. If it's Halloween, you're going to have maybe a costume party. The what is usually pretty easy to answer. And the who is also fairly easy, but it could be multiple groups. Some of your events will just be for your students. Some of them will be for your students and your parents. Some may be for the community. Some may be to find potential clients, and some may be for your employees. The community events or potential clients, that would also include vendor events where you set up a table and talk about your preschool. So when and where, those are usually pretty easy to decide. You know, you've got your schoolhouse, your, perhaps in a church, your home, the park, and the when. Here are a few tips for choosing your date. Examine your own schedule. When are your parent-teacher conferences, your school breaks, important dates in your personal life? You know, if your wedding anniversary is coming up, you're probably not going to want to be planning a huge event that weekend. And when will you have help? Because some things we can do on our own, but if it's an elaborate event, say like a harvest festival, you're going to need some help. So if your parents are all going to be at the big game that weekend, it's probably better to change it to a different date. And unless it is a holiday event, avoid planning things around the holidays. People are all, busy with their family celebrations, perhaps their church celebrations. And you don't want to just try to, squeeze this little event in there when they're going to be like, yeah, I could probably skip that one. So plan your other events at different times of the year. And of course, answer all of these questions when you're preparing for vendor events too. The where. Now, this one may seem obvious, oh, I've got a schoolhouse, I'm going to do it there. But depending on the kind of event, how much space are you going to need? What kind of amenities are you going to need? Will you need a kitchen? Will there need to be multiple bathrooms because you're going to have a large crowd? How much parking are you going to need? You may be planning to have your event in the parking lot. Is there enough street parking? Or perhaps you could make an arrangement with the businesses around the area to park there. Will you need indoor or outdoor space, or maybe both? Do you need an in case of rain plan? Or if you live in Arizona, in case of heat plan? Will there be easy access for setup and cleanup? Are you going to need to back truck up to unload tables, chairs? If it is a vendor event, find out ahead of time, can I bring my vehicle close enough so that I can unload everything I need? Or am I going to need, a dolly or a wagon or extra help to transport those things? And do any special accommodations need to be made? Sensory issues, wheelchair ramps, those kinds of things. The time of day, your time window is going to depend a lot on your date and your location. If your venue is only open between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., then you have to fit your event into that time period, obviously. But give some thought. Will people be able to attend? Will they be off work in time? Will they be able to come and help me because they have opening in their schedule? And here's a pro tip for you. Keep your own schedule like for about a week before the event and a week after the event. Because there's always something that comes up. Something doesn't quite work out right. The baker, can't make the cake. Just pick a problem. Something will probably happen. But if you have that time buffer, then dealing with those will be a little easier to handle. And for the week after, just so you can recover. Because even with your lists, even with your organized, thought process, planning events takes work, and you're going to need a little bit of decompression time. And last is the how. This is the fun part where your creativity gets to shine. Of course, there are boundaries, and you can either look at them with your sad face or with your happy face. I kind of like boundaries because, when I start thinking about an event, I'm like, oh, we could do this and that and this, and, maybe an ice sculpture. And, and then I remind myself, you know what, I live in Phoenix. Probably not the best choice. So, especially if you're doing a vendor event, be sure to review their rules. Some vendors won't allow you to have balloons. Some vendors won't allow you to pass out candy. Some vendors won't allow you to have a bubble machine or play music at your tent. So make sure you are very aware of the vendor rules. And then for your own events, consider your space, your time, your budget, and your helpers. All those things that we talked about before. You can have great events. You may not be able to do everything you would like to do, though. So start with a brainstorm wish list, at least 2 months ahead, if possible. Whoops. What do you want the event to look like, feel like, sound like, taste like, and smell like? Remember your vendor event limits. But basically, the sky's the limit. Just brainstorm, just dream, write it down. Oh, I want this, and we got to have a petting zoo, and I want to have a magician, and we've got to have loud 80s music blasting from the speakers, and just write it all down. And we're going to come back down to earth here on the next slide. And once you have your wish list, go through it and eliminate any duplicates that you might have written down. Then start a must-have list. The must-haves are either because they're necessities. Obviously, if you are having a graduation ceremony, you've got to have some kind of a ceremony, a diploma or whatnot. Or things that the event just won't be right if you don't have them. If you're having an 80s party, then obviously you've got to have neon and 80s music. It's just not going to be an 80s party without it. But look at your time, your space, your budget, and your helpers, and then figure out how you can make the must-haves happen. Don't sit down and say, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. Figure out how you can do them. And you may not get to do all of them, but you still can have an awesome event. Now, let's just take a little bit of planning break and talk about advertisements and promotion, because if nobody knows about your event, then all of your planning is going to be for nothing. So start about 2 months to 6 weeks ahead of time and consistently promote your event. There's, of course, the obvious ways: your radio spots, newspaper ads, flyers, social media posts. But then there's creative ways. Can you do a giveaway? Everyone who shows up, or the first 20 people who come gets a t-shirt, or this really cool autographed something or other. Do a referral contest. When people buy their tickets, who did you hear about us from? Oh, Joe Smith. Oh, cool. Joe Smith gets an entry into our raffle contest. Or like Joy suggests to do with your preschool, for every person who you refer, you get 5 tickets into the contest. You can do stunts. If we sell 100 tickets to this event, you will get a chance to dunk me in a dunk tank. Or you could have someone, if you've got a, well, if you yourself are, or if you've got a really gregarious friend, dress up like a dinosaur or a minion or whatever, and put on a show. Apply the 5 W's and an H to your advertisements and promotions. Who am I trying to reach? What am I trying to pitch to them? When is it? Where is it? Why am I doing this? And how do I need them to respond? So now let's get to the fun part. These are your 5 senses: your hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and I always forget one. Hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. Help me out, Charisse. What's the best sense? I've got it in my slides.
What you see. What you see.
Sight. Yeah, sight. And I was having trouble finding my mute button. I'm like, where is my mute?
All right. So what do you want your event to feel like? Do you want it to be bright and vibrant like an 80s party? Do you want it to be, down home country feel like maybe a harvest festival? Warm and cozy? That might work well for, say, an employee get together. You could do beach vibes, patriotic, that's my favorite. Or, a holiday. Can't see it under there it is. The Christmas one there. But think about what do you want your event to feel like? What ambiance do you want to portray? What do you want it to look like? What colors? What's your color scheme? What kind of decorations? Do you want to do streamers and balloons? Do you want to do posters on the walls? Do you want to have any kind of displays? If you are having a parents' night, do you want to display your children's work? And what is the setup going to look like? Make a sketch so that you may use your classroom every day, but when you're using it for a different purpose, try to think through, okay, I could put a table here for some snacks, and I could have a little activity over here, and don't leave it to chance. Have a plan beforehand. And if you find something that works well, take pictures from several angles so that you can replicate it next time. Because if it works well for Harvest Festival, it might work well for a spring fling. What do you want it to sound like? Are you going to need a sound system? Are you even allowed to play music? Because some vendors won't allow you to. Which playlist will you use? Will there be speeches, announcements, or prize winners? Are you going to need a microphone to announce those things? Will there be live entertainment? How are you going to accommodate that? And what are the noise ordinances? If you're planning an outdoor event, make sure you are aware of that. And what do you want it to smell like? The scents should fit the theme. You're probably not going to want lilies everywhere for your Harvest Festival, because it just doesn't match. You want your Christmas to, cinnamon and spice, you want your fall, the pumpkin spice. You want if you're doing a woods or a camp out, the campfire, the woods, those kinds of things. Be careful with floral arrangements. They're great for, say, a mom's night out or some kind of a formal sit-down dinner. But you want the flowers to be very lightly scented. You don't want to have a very strong smelling flower next to your plate of spaghetti, because it just, kind of messes with your senses. And also be careful with food. because some foods are just, overpowering. And what do you want your event to taste like? Will you serve food, and what kind, and how many servings are you going to need? If you are doing, say, a community spaghetti dinner for a fundraiser, how many servings will you need? If you've sold, say, 100 tickets up front, you can plan for 100 servings, but are you going to do at the door sales? How much more will you need, and how much is too much? If you've got somebody who knows how to cost out food, I strongly suggest that you work with them for that kind of thing, so that you don't end up spending $300 on your spaghetti supplies and have to eat spaghetti for the next 3 months. I guess if you really like your spaghetti, maybe. And what will your alternatives be for allergies or dietary preferences? Don't just assume that everyone's going to love your pasta with meat sauce. You can, in some situations, like a fundraiser, not make those accommodations because they can get costly. Obviously, if you're selling tickets to a spaghetti dinner and you don't advertise a vegetarian option, then people won't be expecting a vegetarian option. So, leave that up to your discretion. But if you are planning an event for your preschool families, take into account all of those allergies and preferences. Will your food be catered, or are you going to prepare it yourself? And if you're going to prepare it yourself, where and when, and how long is it going to take you? And are you going to have help? If it's a potluck, who brings what? Don't just leave it to chance and say, everyone bring your favorite dish. Because nowadays you're going to get a whole bunch of Doritos. People just don't cook. You might get store-bought cookies. There might be a few of those. And that will be your dinner for the night. So, if your name starts, between A to L, bring this, and M to, I would go so far as to suggest even narrow, A to C, bring cookies, D to F, bring cupcakes, that kind of thing. Or you may have all of your savory people bringing Doritos and all of your sweet people bringing cookies, and there you go. Potlucks can get tricky in today's society. Are you going to pass out candy or other treats? And will the food be for purchase? If it's just a regular, say a Harvest Festival event, are you going to sell the hot chocolate and the what would you have for a Harvest Festival? Well, candied apples, there you go. Will those be for sale, or will you be offering them for free? And then, of course, there's always the logistics, the supplies, and the equipment. If the event is not in your home, how are you going to transport everything? If all you have is a small little car. I can't even think of a small car right now. Mini Cooper. If all you have is a Mini Cooper, how are you going to transport the chairs and the tables and the trash cans and the fans and the heaters and any electronic equipment you need? Figure out what you will need, and then figure out how you're going to get it there. And I add trash bags on here, which may seem obvious, but always make sure you have trash bags, because there's always going to be trash. And especially if you are in a rented facility, it's probably your responsibility to dispose of it. So you don't want to be making a last minute run to the nearest store to grab some trash bags. All right. We've come to the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Anybody? Questions?
Have I done a virtual event? I actually have. I did a poetry tea time, we called it, where I had the parents dress their, well, not their nice clothes, because we were going to be painting, but nicer clothes than they would normally wear to the preschool class. And we played classical music while we painted. We watercolor painted. And I read poetry to the children. And it was actually, it turned out so cute. One little boy didn't know how to work the watercolors, so that was fun. When I told him to get his paintbrush wet and then try it, he was ecstatic that he got color on his paper. But yes, that one turned out really sweet, really nice. It was very simple to plan. I highly recommend that one. And then I also did a bring a friend to school day, where we had the children brought, one of them brought their sister and another one brought his nephew or cousin, or anyway. Instead of the regular school schedule, we played a bunch of games, and I had them do scavenger hunts and things that they knew that they could help the other person to learn. So that one turned out fun too. I also did a virtual meet and greet, which was basically me talking and showing slides.
So it looks like we have another question in the chat. It says, is it best to have a backup plan if you plan to do an outside event, but the weather turns bad, or just cancel the event?
If you are in a place where it is likely to have bad weather, here in Arizona, we can almost always count on sunshine. Of course, we don't plan things for about half of the year because it's just simply too hot. But if you're in a place where it's likely to rain or snow or whatever, I would suggest having a backup plan, because if your weather turns bad, then you're not going to have your event. And even if you try to reschedule it, what if the weather turns bad again? So having a backup plan would be your best bet. Any more?
Yeah, that's the reason why I asked about the virtual event. I'm an online, trying to be an online preschool. I live in Georgia, and a lot of time the weather is so unpredictable. 1 minute they say it's sunshine and it's gonna be all right, and the thing you know it's raining. So it's very unpredictable here. So that's just why I asked that question.
Yeah. I think whether people are just practicing the weather like doctors just practice medicine. They're just, one of these days they might get it right. I don't know.
Yeah, I also live in Georgia, but I know that if it rains, I've learned that if it rains at night, especially if it storms at night, and then the next day it's like super hot and sunny, it's guaranteed to rain again that night because of the moisture going up into the air. It just comes right back down. So
Yeah.
we've had, like, what has it been, a couple of weeks now where this has been happening, and right now it's sunny and hot, and it rained yesterday, and I'm sure it's gonna rain again and be stormy tonight.
Yes, you can always plan indoor events. Not as much fun as some outdoor activities, but at least you know the weather's not going to stop you.
Any other questions, ladies?
I did create some checklists for you. If you want to grab that QR code, it should take you to the Google Drive.
That's a great idea.
On the event and party supply list, that was a brainstorm from all of my events that I have planned and a couple of Google searches. It's probably not complete, so make sure that you double check your own list. But I hope this helps you plan some wonderful events. As Joy says, that we are more than a preschool. So start sharing.
I
Right,
don't,
exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Paula, for
You're
your
very welcome.
presentation today.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I thought that the presentation was very thorough and